Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Sorry I haven't been posting in about a month, 3 weeks, however long it was, I can't remember. Anyway, I've got more content coming now. So my first video back will be UFC Fight Night predictions on Reiner versus Brendan Allen. Let's get into it. Starting off the first fight on the card we have is Melissa Croden versus Theonara Lisboa. Melissa Croden is 6-2. Her height is 5'9". Her last fight was against Ashley Dean and won that fight by TKO in the second round. This was back in October 2024, so a year ago. Before then, she fought Katharina Lena and won that fight by TKO in round 3 back in October of 2023, so that's 2 years ago. Both fights were on LFA, which is another MMA company. Theonara Lisboa is 7-3. Her height is 5'7". Her last fight was against Luana Santos and lost that by sub in the second round back in May of 2025 on the Burns versus Morales card. Before then, she fought Ravina Oliveira and won by unanimous decision back in October 2023 on the Yusuf versus Barboza card. So both women don't really fight often as seen, but Theonara Lisboa did fight back in May, so to be honest, I think I'm going to edge it towards Theonara Lisboa, and she is the minus 125 favourite. So I'm going to lean towards Theonara Lisboa by a decision here, and that's my prediction. Next fight on the card we have is Azamat Bekaev versus Yursi Belgoria. No idea. Azamat Bekaev is 20-3. His height is 6 foot. His last fight was against Ryan Loader and won by TKO in the first round back in May of 2025 on the Sanhagen versus Figueiredo card. Before then, he fought Zach Reese and won by TKO in the first round back in January of 2025 on the Makachev versus Moicano card. Yursi Belgoria is 8-3. His height is 6'5". His last fight was against Tigwa Askawa and won by TKO in the third round. This is back in September 2024 on the Dana White Contender Series. Originally, this fight was actually supposed to happen back in August of 2025 on the Tyra versus Park card, but it didn't come to fruition because UFC's had visa issues, so he couldn't come to America to fight. So now they're going to, Canada. For me, I'm going to lean towards Azamat Bekaev. I mean, he's 20-3. He's a minus 260 favourite. He's on I don't even know what streak he's on, but his last 5 fights, he's 5-0. Yeah, I'm going to lean towards Azamat Bekaev by TKO in the second round. Next fight on the card we have is Stephanie Lusano versus Ravina Oliveira. Stephanie Lusano is 6'2" with a height of 5'6". Her last fight was against Sam Hughes and lost by split decision back in March of 2025 on the Vittori versus Delidze 2 card. Before then, she fought Talita Anklar and won by unanimous decision back in August of 2024 on the Tybura versus Spivak 2 card. Ravina Oliveira is 7-2-1. Her height is 5'5". Her last fight was against Theonara Lisboa and lost by unanimous decision. This was back in October 2023 on the Yusuf versus Barboza card. Before then, she fought Simeone De Silva and won by ground and pound at TKO in the third round back in August of 2023 on the LKC card. So for who I have winning here, give me Stephanie Lusano by decision. Even though she lost her last fight, so did Ravina. But she doesn't have the inactivity like Ravina. So I'm going to lean towards Stephanie Lusano by a decision here, just because her last fight was back in March of this year. Ravina's last fight was back in October 2023. So, yeah, you see that difference there. Stephanie's a favourite of a minus 325, so I'm going to lean towards Stephanie Lusano for a decision win here. Next fight on the card, we have Kyle Prepelic versus Drew Dober. Kyle Prepelic is 18-9. His height is 5'10". His last fight was against Benoit Saint Denis and lost that fight by sub in the second round back in May of 2025 on the Muhammad vs. Madalena card. Before then, he fought Gustavo Wurtzler and won that fight by TKO in the first round back in June of 2024 on the BTC card. Drew Dober is 27-15, his height is 5'8". His last fight was against Manuel Torres and lost that fight by TKO in the first round back in May of 2025 on the Moreno vs. Usyk card. Before then, he fought Gene Silva and lost by doctor stoppage in the third round back in July of 2024 on the Namajunas vs. Cortez card. But who I have winning here, give me Drew Dober by TKO in the second round. I know he lost both of his fights recently by TKO, but I'm being honest, Kyle he's not great. I'm sorry. And the guys Dober fought were really good. Like, we're talking about Manuel Torres, Gene Silva, like really talented people. So, even though in his last 5 fights, he's 1-4, which, not the best, and Kyle Prepelic is 3-2, but Drew Dober is the minus 500 favourite, which I really don't understand that. But yeah, I do have Drew Dober by a TKO in the second round here. Next fight on the card we have is Danny Barlow versus Jordan Santos. Danny Barlow is 9-1. His height is 6'2". His last fight was against Sam Patterson and lost that fight by TKO in the first round back in March of 2025 on the Manel Cap versus Asu Amlabayev card. Before then, he fought Nikolay Vertinikov and won that fight by split decision back in August 2024 on the Tybura versus Spivak 2 card. Jordan Santos is 10-2. His height is 6 foot. His last fight was against Ozzy Diaz and lost that fight by a unanimous decision back in March of 2025 on the Pereira versus Ankalaev 1 card. Before then, he fought Will Curry and won by unanimous decision back in September 2024 on the Dana White's Contender Series. For who I have winning here, I'm going to lean towards Danny Barlow. I think he's going to knock him out in the second round. I think I have him by KO in the second round. I just think Danny has had the better opponents, even though he lost his last fight. He's coming back for vengeance. He's coming back for blood. I think he's going to knock him out in the second round. I just have a really good feeling about it. And to Jordan, he's not the best. He lost to Ozzy Diaz, which, I mean, yeah, Ozzy's alright, but he's not that great. And Danny Barlow, I think he's 9-1. Yeah, he lost, I think he... Was he? Yeah, I think he was 9-0 going into his last fight. I might be wrong with that. But if he was, I think he'll come back with more of a vengeance with that. Next fight on the card, we have a fight I'm actually really looking forward to. Bruno Silva versus Hyun Sung Park. Bruno Silva is 14-7-2. His height is 5'4". His last fight was against Joshua Van and lost that fight by TKO in the third round back in June of 2025 on the Dvalishvili versus O'Malley 2 card. Before then, he fought Manel Cap and lost by TKO in the third round. That was on the Covington versus Buckley card. Hyun Sung Park is 10-1. His height is 5'7". His last fight was against Tatsuro Taira and lost that fight by sub in the second round back in August of 2025. That was the main event. Before then, he fought Carlos Hernandez and won that fight by sub in the first round back in May of 2025 on the Burns versus Morales card. But for who I have winning here, it's a really hard fight to choose from. Bruno Silva is a really good fighter and had some hard competition like Joshua Van and Manel Cap. So did Hyun Sung Park. He just fought Tatsuro Taira, which Tatsuro Taira is now fighting Brandon Moreno. So, they are some top-level fighters. Even though they have lost their recent fights, they're really good. And, yeah, it's a tough one. Like, I could see Hyun Sung Park edging it. I mean, he is the minus 250 favourite. But I think I might be stupid with this pick, but I'm going to go with it. I'm going to pick the underdog on Bruno Silva by a decision here. I wouldn't be surprised if Hyun Sung Park wins, but I'm just going to lean towards Bruno Silva by a decision here. I just think he's going to edge it slightly, but it might even be a split decision. I think it's going to be that close for me. Wouldn't be surprised if Hyun Sung Park even submits him, to be honest. Even though I don't think he will, because Bruno Silva, I think he is alright. Submission game. Sorry. You know what I mean. Anyway, Bruno Silva by a decision here. Next fight on the card, we have Charles Jourdain versus Davy Grant. Charles Jourdain, 6-8-1. His height is 5'9". His last fight was against Victor Henry and won that fight by sub in the second round back in November 2024 on the Moreno versus Albazi card. Before then, he fought Gene Silva and lost by TKO in the second round, which, I mean, it's Gene Silva. Even though he lost to Diego Lopez, it's Gene fucking Silva. This is back in June of 2024 on the Pereira versus Prohaska 2 card. Davy Grant is 15-7. His height is 5'8". His last fight was against Damon Blackshear and won that fight by unanimous decision back in July of 2025 on the Whitaker versus Derrida card. Before then, he fought Ramon Tavares and won that fight by unanimous decision. This is back in December of 2024 on the Covington versus Buckley card. But for who I have winning here, I think it's going to go one way. I think it's going to be Charles Jourdain by a TKO in the second round. I just think he is growing as a fighter. Davy Grant, he is winning, but he's not going that. What the fuck? Why don't I even write that? Davy Grant, yeah, he had a great win over Damon Blackshear. I'm not gonna lie, great win. But Charles Jourdain, I think he had that loss against Gene Silva, which at that point it was Gene fucking Silva, even though he's not that hype anymore. And then he fought Victor Henry, which Victor Henry, I didn't think I saw that fight. I'm not sure. But I know Charles Jourdain is a really good fighter, and he is the -170 favourite. So I am going to lean towards Charles Jourdain by TKO in the second round here. Next fight on the card we have is Kyle Nelson versus Matt Frivola. Kyle Nelson is 16-6-1. His height is 5'11". His last fight was against Steve Garcia and lost that fight by TKO in the first round. This is back in September of 2024 on the Burns versus Brady card. Before then, he fought Bill Aglio and won that fight by TKO in the first round. This is back in March of 2024 on the Blanchfield versus Fiorot card. Matt Frivola is 11-5-1. His height is 5'9". His last fight was against Faraz Ziam and lost that fight by TKO in the third round. This was back in September of 2024 on the Moicano versus Saint Denis card. Before then, he fought Benoit Saint Denis and lost that fight by TKO in the first round. This is back in November 2023 on the Pereira versus Prohaska 1 card. But the thing that's getting me a bit confused there, is Kyle Nelson even good? I mean, he's 16-6, probably not a great record. 3-1-1 in his last 5 fights. Matt Frivola has that inactivity. Kyle Nelson's last fight was... When was his last fight? In September 2024. Even though he had that TKO round 1 loss against Steve Garcia. I think I'm going to lean towards Matt Frivola here. And I think the reason why I'm picking Matt Frivola here is he had a win over Drew Dober. And now everyone's like, what the fuck? Who cares about that? Yes, but I picked Drew. If you think about it, I picked Drew Dober to beat. Fuck, who was he fighting? I picked Drew Dober to beat Kyle Prepelic, right? And if I bet him and Matt bet. What the fuck am I saying? I'm going with Matt Frivola by a decision here. I'm speaking out of my fucking ass at this point. Matt Frivola by a decision here. I just think he's gonna win. Kyle Nelson's not that great. I'm sorry, but Matt Frivola I think is gonna win by a decision. Next fight on the card we have is Cody Gibson versus what the fuck is that name? Oriaquen. I'm sorry. I don't want to be mean, but I can't pronounce that name. Cody Gibson is 21-11. His height is 5'10". His last fight was against Damon Blackshear and lost by sub in the second round. This is back in March of this year on the Vittori versus Delidze 2 card. Before then, he fought Chad Unhegler and won that by unanimous decision. This is back in November 2024 on the Moreno versus Albazi card. I'm going to pronounce this one more time. Aurier Glenn is 25-12. His height is 5'7". His last fight was against Raul Roses Jr. and lost that fight by unanimous decision back in September 2024 on the O'Malley versus Dvalishvili 1 card. Before then, he fought Daniel Marcos and it ended in a no contest because of an unintentional groin strike. This is back in February of 2024 on the Hermanson versus Python card. So for who I have winning here, it's a close one to call for me. I think I'm going to lean towards Aurier Quilling. I'm sorry. Just because I think he has better wins than Cody. Like the wins over Johnny Munoz Jr., who was 12-3, which is a great win for him. So I am going to lean towards Aurier Quilling by a decision here for me. Next fight on the card, now we get into the top 4, the big fights. Manon Fiorot versus Jasmine Jasudavicius. Manon Fiorot is 12-2. Her height is 5'7". Her last fight was against Valentina Shevchenko and lost that fight by unanimous decision. This happened back in May of this year on the Muhammad versus Madalena card, which was the co-main event for the women's flyweight championship. Before then, she fought Erin Blanchfield and won that fight by unanimous decision, which happened back in March of 2024, where it was the main event. Jasmine Jasudavicius is 14-3. Her height is 5'7". Her last fight was against Jessica Andrade and won that fight by sub in the first round back in May of 2025, which that's a fucking great one, to be honest. On the Muhammad versus Madalena card. Before then, she fought Mayra Bueno Silva and won that fight by unanimous decision back in February of 2025 on the Adesanya versus Imavov card. So yeah, a great matchup. I think this is a great women's flyweight fight. I'm not going to lie. This is a fun fight. And I'm saying that about a women's fight, which I'm like, what the fuck? I think I'm going to go with Manon Fiorot because I think her ability as a striker and movement will really edge it for her. So I'm going to go with Manon Fiorot by a decision here. Even though Jasmine Jasudavicius had that fantastic win over Jessica Andrade, I just think Manon Fiorot is just a little bit better than her. She went all rounds with Valentina Shevchenko, even though Valentina Shevchenko really absolutely dominated that fight. I mean, Manon Fiorot, it's good. Both women are good. But I just think Manon Fiorot is just a little bit better. Next fight on the card is another fun matchup. Marlon Vera versus Ayman Sahabi. Marlon Vera is 23-10-1. His height is 5'8". His last fight was against Davison Figueiredo, which he lost that fight by unanimous decision. That happened back in August of 2024 on the Sandhagen versus Nurmagomedov card. Before then, he fought Sean O'Malley for the Bantamweight Championship, and he lost that fight by unanimous decision. That happened back in March of 2024, on which it was the main event. Ayman Zahabi is 13-2. His height is 5'8". His last fight was against Jose Aldo, and won that fight by unanimous decision. This happened back in May of this year on the Muhammad vs. Madalena card. Before then, he fought Pedro Munoz and won that fight by unanimous decision back in November of 2024 on the Moreno vs. Albazi card. So for who I have winning here, Marlon has been really inactive. I mean, he was supposed to fight Mario Batista on the Dvalishvili vs. O'Malley 2 card, but he got injured or he got sick. It was one of those, I can't remember exactly. So he couldn't take that fight. That's where we got the introduction of Patchy Mix. Anyway, Marlon Vera has had that inactivity. He's also on a 2-fight losing streak against some great people, I'm not going to lie. Great people. But I am going to lean towards Ayman Zahabi here. I think the reason I'm going to pick Ayman Zahabi is because of a great win over Jose Aldo. Like, you can't get him wrong. Jose Aldo is a fantastic fight. Well, he's a goat. He's a bantamweight goat. I'm sorry. He's the guy. Everyone loves Jose Aldo. And I think Ayman Zahabi taking that win, because I picked Aldo over Zahabi, because I had no idea who the hell Ayman Zahabi was. Until he beat Aldo, and I was like, yo, this guy's actually he's like the real fucking deal. And I was like, alright, I think I'm going to go with Ayman Zahabi to beat Marlon Vera here. That's just my prediction. Ayman Zahabi by a decision here. Now for the co-main event, a fun fight. Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott. Kevin Holland is 28-14. His height is 6'3". His last fight was against Daniel Rodriguez and lost that fight by a unanimous decision. This happened back in July of 2025, on the Holloway versus Poirier 3 card. Before then, he fought Vicente Luque, on which he won that by sub in the second round. This happened back in June of 2025 on the Dvalishvili versus O'Malley 2 card. Mike Malott is 12-1. His height is 6'1". Excuse me. His last fight was against Charles Radke, on which he won by TKO in the second round. This happened back in May of 2025 on the Muhammad versus Madalena card. Before then, he fought Trevin Gillies, on which he won by unanimous decision. This happened back in November 2024 on the Moreno versus Albazi card. So, for who I have winning here, I'm gonna go with Mike Malott. I know. By decision here, just because I think we never really know with Kevin Holland. Like, he had a great win over Luque, and then he had a dull fight and a loss against Daniel Rodriguez, while Mike Malott is on a 2-fight winning streak. So at the end of the day, I'm going to slightly edge it towards Mike Malott, even though he's fought not as great opponents as Kevin Holland, because, Kevin Holland fought Daniel Rodriguez, who's climbing up in the ranks, and Vicente Luque, who just fought Joel Alvarez, which he lost that, unfortunately, as well. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Mike Malott. He's a -115. Mike Malott is the pick by a decision here. Next fight on the card, the main event, we have Reiner Ritter versus Brendan Allen. I'm sorry, this fight is... this is not a great fight, to be honest. Why is Brendan Allen getting fucking Reiner Ritter? It's bullshit. We need to get other people. What? Just because he beat fucking Marvin Vettori? Marvin Vettori's not fucking good, I'm sorry. He's not a good... Why did Anthony Hernandez have to get injured? Like, why? Like, we could have had a great fight against Reiner Ritter versus Anthony Hernandez, but that's the world, that's life, at the end of the day. Anyway, Reiner Ritter is 21-2. His height is 6'4". His last fight was against Robert Whittaker, on which he won by a split decision. This happened back in July of 2025, on which it was the main event. Before then, he fought Bo Nickel and won by TKO in the second round. This happened back in May of 2025 on the Figueiredo versus Sandhagen card. Brendan Allen is 25-7. His height is 6'2". His last fight was against Marvin Vettori, on which he won by unanimous decision back in July of 2025 on the Holloway versus Poirier 3 card. Before then, what the fuck happened to me? Before then, he fought Anthony Hernandez and lost that fight by unanimous decision. This happened back in February of 2025 on the Cejudo versus Song card. But for way of winning here, I'm going with Reiner Ritter. Come on. I think he is so much better than Brendan Allen. Secondly, Brendan Allen only had like a few weeks to train for RDR, which you need a whole ass training camp to train for RDR. I'm sorry. Robert Whittaker went the distance with him. Yes, Robert Whittaker. And Reiner Ritter beat him, which fucking shocked me because I was going Whittaker. I'm sorry. I was going Reiner Ritter, actually. I was going RDR with Whittaker. But yeah, it's a fine fight. I'm not interested in it, but it's just there. I wish we could have got, fuck. I'd rather, bloody Reiner Ritter versus Paulo Costa. That would have been a fun fight, but Paulo wouldn't have fucking take that fight. So yeah, we're getting Reiner Ritter versus Brendan Allen, which, fine, whatever. But I'm going to go with Reiner Ritter by a sub in the third round. I think I'm going to submit him. I don't know, I just have a really good feeling about it. And yeah, I think submission in the third round. But that is it. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel. It'll be a massive help. Thank you for watching. Take care. Goodbye.